Whoa! Oops. So that was the wall. What's up, guys? Zach with String Walkers Archery. Today we're going to build some Easton Super Drive Micros for 50 meters for the Barebow. These are 625 spines. They are 5.7 grams per inch, so they're pretty light. I think what we're going to find is a light arrow gets out of the bow a little quicker, and it's maybe a little more forgiving. But we'll get to that. So the first step after they come out of the bag or the box is I'm going to spin these. And what I'm looking for is just any movement on either end of this shaft that would indicate that the arrow is not perfectly straight. So you see a little wiggle on the nock end, and a little wiggle on the other end too. So I'm going to put these in 3 separate piles when I do this. And then after I get all the way through, I'm going to kind of mark them based on how straight they are. So you can see these two guys here, I just put 2 marks. That's going to indicate that they are okay, not great. These guys I put 1 mark on. That means they're good, like the cream of the crop. And then I've got some that are not super great. Those are getting an X. Normally what I would do, like with a compound setup, is I would label these guys 1 through 12 after I've sorted them all out. And then 1 through, like say the first 6 were like primo, really nice. The first 6 are going to be the ones I'm shooting in competition for the most part. And then I'll have like another, maybe 3 in the middle and maybe 3 towards the bottom of the barrel here that I'm going to try and avoid shooting. So once I've gone ahead and done that, which I kind of did ahead of time, then I'm going to shove a pin in here with some of my number 4 millimeter bushings on the back. Those are just going to help me if I'm smacking arrows around at 50 meters, then hopefully I won't break any shafts.
Not normally a problem for Barebow though, right, Zach?
Yeah, no, Barebow, we're pretty inaccurate, so don't really have to worry about that too much. But yeah, I'm just going to shove this guy in here real quick, and then we will go to the marking stage here. So I've got my little biter nock adapter for my Bitzenberger. Biter makes a really nice spin wing jig too that helps you mark out more precisely. But this is what I have at the shop and it works just fine. So all I'm going to do is snap this little orange deal on my nock like that, and then go in the jig, which I have marked roughly where I want my tape to sit for my vane. So you can see the brown mark right there. And then all I'm going to do is take my trusty Sharpie, give her a little mark, turn it. So this jig is set up for a 3 vane right hand offset, not a helical. So then once I have this marked, I can take my excess wings, put on my tape right over top of my Sharpie mark, stick the vane on, and then wrap the pinstriping tape, and it's going to turn out looking like this guy here. So you can see evenly spaced, slight offset to the right, and then the tape around the edges to hold that guy on there.
What length do you like using for outdoors?
So these are 70 millimeter. They're just a little bit longer than some of the other ones. It's kind of personal preference, but main thing is you're going to want these to steer well and get clearance out of the bow. So usually I'll get like the lower profile as opposed to a high profile like that. They make different options. So I think they have like a 50, a 70. These are a right hand wing as well as opposed to a left hand. There's some controversy there. Some people will tell you to shoot your arrow marked out of your bow and try and figure out which way it naturally wants to spin. I don't really worry about that. It doesn't really seem like something that makes a huge difference. I will say the other reason that I mark my compound arrows 1 through 12, whereas these guys I'm just putting into 3 piles. Compound arrows I'm going to shoot out of the hooter shooter and try and get each one of them to shoot inside the same hole as itself and each other. So I'm going to try and get all 12 arrows to shoot in the same hole on a Vegas face at 20 yards. And when I do that, I'm marking which arrow went in what hole and then turning the nock, what would that be, 90 or 180 degrees? Because I think I usually 4-fletch, so it'll be like 180 off. Unless I have a really bad one, and then I will strip the vanes off, refletch at a different index, and we'll go from there trying to get those arrows all in the same hole. The Barebow setup, I have never shot it through a hooter shooter, and I'm not sure I really want to. It may make some difference, but I don't think it makes enough of a difference for me to spend 6 hours shooting it through a hooter shooter trying to turn these nocks and get everything to be exactly the same. So
Comment if you want Zach to do that and spend 6 hours.
Yeah, tell me if you want me to waste my time like that. I will for you. So next step, I glued in points. Easton sent me these 4mm HL. These are break off points. They go from 130 grains all the way down to 80. You can get these guys on Lancaster or anywhere else at your local bow shop. They are just stainless steel points. A bit of a long shank on them, but they should work just fine. I like to try and keep my point weight heavy if I can, just so that I have more front and center and it carries a little better through the wind. There is kind of a happy medium somewhere in between 100 and 130. Any lighter than that, and it really starts to kind of just have some wind drift to it. So I try and keep those heavy. And we're going to start at a full length arrow and just start working our way down. I'm going to try for a rough tune through paper first. Most people are going to shoot a bare shaft. We'll get to that a little later, but initially we're gonna just shoot through paper, cut an inch or a half inch off, and just start going.
Shipping
All right.
alone.
So we're going to shoot this through paper, see what we get. Not your traditional Barebow setup, but this is where I'm starting my journey. Go with a rough 50-meter crawl here. Okay. So you can see veins hitting left of where the point is. So point's over here, veins hitting left. So that's telling me that we are going to be pretty bare shaft right, which is going to be weak for a right-handed archer. So what I'm going to do, I could go a couple ways. So I could go a little lighter on point weight, or with these guys being full length, I can chop a little off, glue the point back in, and try again. So that's what we're going to do first, just because I don't really want these full length to begin with, but we're giving it a shot to start and see where we kind of baseline at before I ruin too many arrows. So we're going to go cut this and we'll get back at it. 32 1/8. 31 1/8. Should be an inch on the nose.
My friend Robbie says no.
All right, we're going to shoot this inch shorter. So we'll see what happens here. This should be stiffer than what it was. So we should see less of a tail left reaction if it behaves the way science would dictate. Okay, so between those two, I'm seeing maybe about the same, possibly a little better.
The top one's the second one? Or the, which one? Bottom
This
one?
one right here is the new one. All right. Try a little more, you think?
I don't know.
Let's give her a little more.
How much more can you take off?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take off a few inches on these and still have them be good. So
Yeah, these stock length are probably like 32 or something.
yeah, they're long. So we're 2 inches shorter now from stock. Hopefully this stiffens it up enough that it actually tunes. Not really sure if we're going to get there or not. This is a 45-pound draw weight bow, roughly. So keep that in mind if you're doing your own thing and you're using lighter poundage, you're going to need a lighter spine. That is the same. One more time.
It is indeed.
One more and I'll believe you.
Is it just possibly because it's so weak, or what do you think could be going on? Or do you have a lot that you could cut off still?
I have a lot that I could cut off. I'll probably jump up to 2 inches the next time we cut this thing, just to try and make a big step change here.
That is the same.
Yep.
We're very close.
We're weak. Still weak. Alright. I'm looking to get it within like a quarter or an eighth of an inch tear, and then we'll go out to the range and shoot a bare shaft and see what it does. This is kind of just an initial tune to try and like get it close so my bare shaft doesn't hit like 3 feet to the right or something like that. So bear with me. Cutting a lot. All right, so we cut off 2 inches that time. Drastic change. This should hopefully be pretty close to the right length. It's going to make my arrow lighter, which is going to be helpful for 50 meters, especially for some of you not shooting 45 pounds. You know, in order to get a 50-meter crawl, at least be somewhat point on or a little below. You know, having this light of an arrow is going to be helpful.
Total of 4 inches so far.
Yep, 4 inches. That is not bad.
This one in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like a half shaft or maybe a full shaft.
Yep. All right. So that's pretty good. What we're going to do is we're going to cut the bare shaft down to that point and then go from there. All right. So we're out on the range now. I've got 2 fletched arrows cut down 4 inches from stock and 1 bare shaft back here. We're going to shoot at 40 yards with a 50-meter crawl. So we're going to aim a little low. It's important to make sure that you're using the crawl roughly that you're going to be shooting when you're actually shooting that distance. It's not so much important that you do it at 50 meters, but I would probably do it at 20 unless you're like really close to a paper tune like I was there. So I know this is probably going to go maybe 6 inches to the right at 40 yards, which is going to be roughly where I want it to tune. I want it to tune just a little bit weak. Whoa! Oops. So that was the wall. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim lower and not hit the wall again.
So does that mean the arrow's stiff or weak?
That means I didn't aim low enough.
That's right, just in the top left corner of the cross.
Okay. So now I've got a fletched arrow on the target. I'm going to shoot my bear shaft. We're going to see where this goes and then make an adjustment depending on that.
Did you cut 3 arrows?
Yep.
It went right. Yep, just right of the line.
All right. So,
Did you plan on shooting the wall? Is that why you cut 3 arrows?
yeah, I plan on shooting the wall. It was a good plan. Went well. I think I would recommend that.
Executed perfectly.
Really helpful. Yeah. All right. So, first arrow through the ratchet strap
Just barely.
and into the wall.
Just.
So we'll pull that out. But after we made an adjustment on where I was aiming, started aiming down here instead of right here. Bad idea. Aim low. We see the bear shaft is about 6 inches right of my fletch shaft. So we're going to repeat this probably twice depending on your confidence level in your shots. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Felt like 2 solid shots. So I think that's pretty accurate as to what we're getting out of the bow. So that would indicate that the arrow's coming out a little bit tail left, and that is going to force your bear shaft arrow to go to the right. So in order to fix that, I can do several things. So I can either take out some point weight and make these guys a little stiffer, which I might consider, but I think the first thing I'm going to do is check my center shot and maybe just bump the plunger slightly to the left and see if that helps.
Oh, first try.
Easy money.
So while we're walking back, how far right? You said you like it a little weak. How far right would you want that bear shaft?
So at 20 yards, I usually go like 2 or 3 inches to the right, just 2 or 3 inches weak. That is mostly because when I add the weight of these vanes on the back of the arrow, it's going to stiffen it up. So that means that my fletched arrow actually flies a little bit stiffer than what the bear shaft does normally. So I'm accounting for that by leaving myself a little bit of wiggle room and tuning the bear shaft slightly weak of the rest of the bow. So here's where we ended up. Try to get that
Yep.
center there.
Yep.
I'm gonna bump my rest out just a little bit,
It's gonna be tricky to get that.
but basically the string, the left edge of the string is on the right edge of the point. So we are just outside center shot, and we're gonna give this another try with the bear shaft. All right, so we move the rest a little bit, we move the plunger. Now we're gonna shoot this again. 2 fletch, 1 bear shaft. We're not gonna hit the wall. We're gonna hit the target.
Right side of the tape. .40 middle with the cross. Those are close together. Which one was that? They're both fletched.
Those are fletched.
Yeah, they're both
Now
pretty
the bear
close.
shaft.
Still just a little bit right, but not much.
That might be perfect. We'll see. Shout out the Push Archery Delta Back Pocket Quiver Premium.
A little bit high.
Okay, so we were a little bit high last time. We're still a little bit high now. So basically what we're going to do is move the nocking points. And all we're going to do is I tie them loose so I can twist them when I'm doing stuff, and then I'll usually go back and tie them really tight so they don't move anywhere. But it's nice when you're doing this just to do some overhand knots, kind of loose, so you can still twist them up and down the string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a couple threads worth in the upward direction, so as to bring the tail of the arrow up and hopefully bring that bear shaft down. So this is just indicating that we're coming out of the bow a little bit tail low, so we're going to move the nocking point up. This.
Yeah.
It does change your crawl. Be warned.
We're gonna hit the wall.
No, we're not gonna hit the wall.
Off the wall.
Off the wall. Bounce it. That looked pretty good in the air. Not bad. Not bad.
It's all on the right side again.
All right, they're all right in there. So the other thing to be mindful of is if you're not making good shots, this is not reliable. So you need to make sure that your form is solid before you start trying to do this too in depth. You know, you can get a decent tune, maybe just shoot it through paper and see what it kind of looks like there. And if it's close, shoot a lot of arrows and then come back and do this. Because otherwise you're just going to be beating your head against the wall. You know, like if I made a bad shot on this bear shaft, it might not be 3 inches to the right of the group at 40 yards. It might be over here one arrow and then up here the next and then over here the next time. And that's just going to be really frustrating and you're going to want to give up. So get it close, shoot it through paper, shoot a lot. And then once everything is solid and all of this is correct, you got a clean release, you're pushing forward into the target, making good shots consistently, then come back and hit this, okay? This is really getting this bow dialed in. This is not something that you need to go crazy with right from the beginning, especially if you're new to this. So,
is this about what you're looking for, or are you going to fix this anymore?
This is exactly where I'm looking. So my bear shaft is about 3 inches right of my fletch group. My fletch group is about, maybe 2.5 inches wide at 40 yards. This is pretty good. This is about as dialed as it's going to get for me without spending, another hour doing this and monkeying around with point weight and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave this and I'm going to shoot a lot. And if you want to check out our next video, Robbie and I are going to shoot 50 meters outside here at Archery Field and Sports in Altoona, and we're going to see how these arrows perform outside in the wind with 130 grain point, 625 super drive micros from Easton, some biter nocks, pin nocks. These are going to be pin number 2s, and XS Wings 70 millimeter right hand low vanes. These should carry pretty well through the wind. I think this is going to be a killer setup. So check it out. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll see you next time.